body is amazing. It's made up of organs like the lungs that keep us breathing. It has bones that give us structure and skin to protect us from the elements. If you can picture in your mind a skeleton like you might see in a doctor's office or even at a Halloween party, you can picture all of the 206 bones that make up the structure of the body. However, if there was nothing but stiff, hard bones in our body, moving around would be pretty difficult. We need our knees to bend in order to walk and our fingers to bend in order to snap a selfie or type an email. Joints, or the meeting place of two or more bones, are an important part of our human skeleton. And just like everything else in our body, joints can experience some wear and tear as we age. Today's course is all about the joints. It's an important topic in home healthcare because more than 50% of people aged over 65 experience some kind of problem with their joints, most commonly pain, mobility issues, and other challenges. During our time together, you will learn what a joint is, the different types of joints in the body, how a joint may change due to the normal aging process, signs and symptoms of joint disorders, an in-depth look at some of the most common joint disorders, and ways you can assist patients who have a joint disorder. Let's get started with the very basics. What exactly is a joint? A joint is a place where at least two bones come together. Joints are made up of both hard bones and soft tissue, like cartilage, tendons, and ligaments. Cartilage is a flexible connective tissue that covers the ends of the bones at the joints. It's also present in other places like the nose, ears, and trachea. You can feel what cartilage is like by touching your ears. You can bend and fold your ear because it's made up of a flexible cartilage. When it comes to your joints, cartilage plays a few key roles in helping us stay mobile, healthy, and happy. Because it covers the ends of the bones, cartilage helps the bones to glide gently over each other instead of rubbing directly on one another. Cartilage also acts as a shock absorber. Imagine you're doing gymnastics on a concrete floor. If you land on your feet after a big jump, it could be quite painful because the concrete is hard and there's nothing to absorb the impact. Now, let's imagine you use a nice soft gym mat. When you land, a lot of the impact will be absorbed by the mat instead of your feet. Cartilage absorbs the impact of your movements in the same way. Sometimes people's cartilage can be lost or damaged due to an injury or arthritis. We'll learn more about how that can happen later on. Tendons are another key component of a joint. They are a bit like a rope that connects muscles to the bones. They're important because they allow us to move our limbs. Like cartilage, they also help to absorb shock. Tendons are made of strong, flexible tissues. Although they are not considered to be stretchy, tendons are very resistant to tearing. However, injuries and tears can still happen if they're pushed beyond their limits. Ligaments connect bones in the joint to one another and help to provide stability when the bones move. That is, they can help limit our movement to keep our joints in a safe range. If a ligament becomes overstretched or torn, joints can become unstable. A common example is a rolled ankle. That was a lot of information, so 10-second recap. Cartilage covers the ends of bones and helps them glide smoothly. Tendons connect muscles to bones and help us move our limbs. Ligaments connect bones together and help keep our joints stable. It takes all parts working together to have a healthy and functioning joint. So now we know the different parts of the joint, but did you know that there are different types of joints in the body? The first type is called a suture joint, and this one is a bit strange because suture joints actually don't allow movement at all. I know. I just told you that joints help us move around, but suture joints are a bit different. They're still classified as joints because they are the point where two or more bones come together, but they don't allow movement. Trust me, in this case, that's a good thing because you can only find suture joints connecting the different bones in our skull. We definitely do not want the top of our head to be moving around where the bones meet. With suture joints out of the way, let's talk about the other types of joints. All of these types do allow for movement. First, there is a ball and socket joint. These joints allow for backward, forward, sideways, and rotating movements. Think about your shoulders, where the humerus or arm bone meets up with the clavicle or collarbone and the scapula. You can shrug your shoulders up and down and roll them front to back or back to front. That's all thanks to a ball and socket joint. Your hip joint is also a ball and socket joint. You can swing it back or forward or rotate it around just like this ballet dancer is doing. Next is the hinge joint. These joints allow for bending and straightening movements. Your knee is a great example of a hinge joint, as are your elbows, toes, and fingers. Go ahead, move them around. They can bend and straighten, but that's the extent of their movement. A pivot joint allows limited rotating movement. For example, you can move your head to look left and right because of a pivot joint in your upper neck. Finally, an ellipsoidal joint allows for all movement except for pivots. You can find these joints in your wrist, for example. Don't worry, you don't have to remember the exact names of all of these joints in order to be a great home care worker. The key things you do need to remember from this lesson are that a joint is where two or more bones meet. Joints are made up of bones and soft tissues like cartilage, tendons, and ligaments. There are many joints throughout the body, and there are different types of joints that allow for different types of movement. So now that we've covered the basics, please answer the short quiz below and join me in the next lesson where we will cover what's normal and what's not when it comes to aging joints.